聖書の奉仕に従事させ、そうすることによって真の喜びに主体の感じるべきである。そういうべきの無傷がある。このような概念を参考にして、天国の惑星へで、若い女性と楽しみ、地球上のがない。同じ章23節で、キリストたちは平穏なのが、その仮説は限界があり、一時的に確証している。魔法的工夫によって、あるいは半身を拝むことによってさえ、感覚の楽しみのために、高級な特定系へと昇格できても、バガバットギータは、つまり滅びる運命であるとして、その位置を知る。このような方法で楽しむ幸せは、夢の中で若い女性を抱いている喜びのようなものである。しばらくの間は楽しいかもしれないが、実際には基本的原則が偽りである。この物質世界の幸不幸の精神的施策は偽物なので、夢に例えられる。物質的感覚を使うことによって幸せが獲得できるというすべての考え方の背後には偽りが隠れていて、故に意味がない。
Om Agana Chimirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chaksuramilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Savetam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sitna Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Budale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Satarani Manchakalpa Trubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vibcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. This is, I'm trying to think like Krishnadas Kaviraj, and he paid obeisances to the readers of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we pay obeisances to anyone who listens if we're trying to say something. And I just read a story I've heard many times that they made some kind of engagement for Prabhupada in the early San Francisco days at a Unitarian church or something. And there were just like 10 people there. And they were expecting many, many people. So then, when in the car, they apologized to Prabhupada that not so many people came. And he said, that's all right. He said, Narada Muni was there, Lord Brahma was there, didn't you see them? But just as they were leaving, one of the boys that was listening said, "Thank you, Swamiji, and I'll be back. Meaning he'll come again to hear from Prabhupada." And that was Tamal Krishna Maharaj before he joined. So I should never be discouraged, even if only one person. And Prabhupada said, if nobody is listening, then preach to yourself. If you can't find anyone else that wants to listen, then just preach to yourself. Somebody asked, how can you preach to yourself? Well, you just think about Krishna, and, like your mind is always thinking of something, thinking you're this, you're that, you're going to make this plan, you're going to do that, you should do that, you should do that. So you just talk to Krishna, talk to yourself about Krishna. That's a good habit to develop. So then, Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tushe Namaha Panchatatmakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radhakanta Namostate, Tapta Kanchana Gaurange, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. So this is, of course, repeated again and again, this happiness and distress that comes and goes that we create in the mind is false because it's temporary, just a dream. We have a translator. Haribo.
Tapasumi Mataji, after 10 minutes coming, so
Right.
until English class, please.
You can try.
And not confused. Harinamananda.
This is Ganga, right?
I'm Mohini.
Mohini, I wanted to talk to you, you didn't answer. So we'll talk after. Where's Ganga? Not feeling well. Okay, who else is listening?
Harinamananda, Ananta-san, Ananda Parat.
Ananta Gauranga?
Hare Krishna. I'm sick and I'm so much coughing now.
All right.
It's difficult
Yeah,
for me to
it's difficult,
pronounce
yeah.
it.
It's all right. Take care of yourself.
I'm so...
Ananta Gauranga's there? Nandamurti? Hare Krishna. Yeah, we have quite a few that can translate, but they're always busy this time of day. And it's the thing with Japanese, there's no time for anybody. So, anyway, this kind of sukhi and dukkhi, this happiness, so-called happiness, how do you say in Japanese? Like, on the subway I used to see ads for the wedding arrangers, Shinko, and it said, eternal Yodakobi. How do you say that, eternal? A-N, yeah, A-N Yodakobi. People want that eternal, but they don't know what eternal is in the first place. Eternal is something that didn't have any beginning or end, not just that you started now and then it won't end. So in a marriage, obviously can't be eternal, although some churches give that blessing, and some people try, they go to the Petri Loka, where they can be with their family, their ancestors, but that's also not eternal because it's in the material world. The heavenly planets are very long, so to us it may seem like that's eternal, a million years or 20 million years or whatever, but for them it doesn't seem like eternal, but they have less distress and more happiness. But there is distress, some different kinds of distress even in the heavenly planets. Sometimes they can see the material world, they can see the lower planets, and then they get a little worried, I might have to go there. That might happen to me. Just like we may be thinking we're enjoying, somebody goes on a nice holiday and they're just, drinking and lying on the beach and partying with lots of people, or, whatever they think is pleasure, skiing or climbing the mountain or swimming or, these tourist places really show you. And people come, like here to Bali from Australia, and they sit in some they call sports bar and drink beer, and they watch the big screen cricket match or something from Australia. Why they have to come to travel far, but just to get away. They don't have to go to work. They can do that all day instead of just sometimes. So that we obviously know this is temporary. You can only enjoy these kind of holiday things as long as you have the budget to pay for them. And then you may get a call, that your mother got sick, or you may get a call that there's an emergency at your job and you have to get online all night. So, so even the heavenly planets, it happens, they get scared of the demons attacking, or they see the lower planets and think I might have to go there. So it's actually like a dream because it's not really real. The soul is not experiencing it, but the soul is covered over, and the soul is experiencing it. Harinamananda is there? She can translate. So the difference of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhakti Yoga compared to other attempts at, explaining or getting us out of the material world is that we get information of real happiness. Because this material happiness is mixed. And at any minute there could be distress. The mental concoction is that if you just can stop the distress, you can be nothing, you can stop thinking, you can stop seeing, you can stop hearing, and all those things, and that would be happiness. That would be mukti, liberation from the suffering. But there's nothingness, so that's not very desirable. Not desirable at all. So, therefore, we are very fortunate that we have learned about Krishna. We've learned about loving exchanges on the spiritual platform, not on the material platform, not trying to enjoy the body, which is temporary, or not trying to enjoy the mind, which can get really, really disturbed. So, in the midst of what's supposed to make us very happy, we may not feel happy because it depends on many other things. Material so-called success depends largely on our endeavor and our hard work. That has to be there. There's so many factors of action, but the supersoul is the main factor, and that means karma. So our endeavor is to enjoy the material world might not always come out the way we expect, because there's other factors. The material life also depends, that's why astrology can do something, because it's connected with the material world. And we have this body and we're in the material world, so, to some extent it can predict and tell us, the ups and downs, what's ahead on the road, like having a map. that you'll get married or you'll get sick at this time, you'll have this many children. It can tell these kind of things. But it has nothing to do with spiritual advancement. Because spiritual advancement depends entirely on the mercy of the Lord. And so our endeavor, there's no karma affecting our spiritual advancement. Our endeavor is to please the Lord, our endeavor is to follow the directions of the spiritual master, attracts the Lord to give mercy. Then it's just a matter of our, having faith and accepting that mercy, and trying to understand what is the mercy of the Lord. And it's very hard to understand sometimes that sickness or loss of, our property or, different so-called problems in life can be advantageous for spiritual life. But Krishna knows what's good for one is not good for another. So one person may take up devotional service, start chanting, and business gets better, or their whole life gets better, the so-called material life, family relationships, and others, it seems like things might go wrong. But the so-called wrong is actually many times good, because it'll free us from things that are holding us back, from different attachments that we have, that we're thinking of too much, putting in too much endeavor, and taking away from our energy that we can serve Krishna. Tapaswini has come yet?
Not yet.
Really? She's late. Okay. Too bad. I got assigned to, I was starting to learn Japanese, like, pretty good. I was just at the point back in 86 or 87 or something. I was studying it a lot, and I was just at the point where, I could have really started to learn something. And then I got assigned to go to many other countries, and having to deal with translations in other languages, and not being in Japan all the time. So I'm sorry that happened. That's why we're looking to get more and more Japanese people to join us, and get the mercy of the Lord, so that they can help spread the mercy of the Lord. Because we had the good fortune of getting very nice books translated, Krishna book and Bhagavad Gita, one volume of Srimad Bhagavatam, not very much compared to other countries. But Krishna book has everything, and Bhagavad Gita has everything. So, once upon a time, mukashi taksan hon kubarimashita. And Dokudemo, Nihon Dokudemo, Hokkaido, Kyushu, Shikoku, everywhere we distributed books. Every town, and not every, many towns and villages, because when we go to the big cities, and there's people, shopping or partying from all around. So we're reaching out to, people from all the other towns too. And many, many books were distributed. A few hundred books every day, big books. So, and we see that once in a while we meet people who have those books, and they like them. They become very happy to meet us. They say, I have the book. I remember in Kobe, I met one guy. He said, "Would you read it?" He said, I study it, he said. But that's it, people are like that. They don't, and we don't have any outreach. We don't have temples everywhere. We don't have preaching centers. So but they're still appreciating the book. That Mataji, somebody met the other day, had ordered the rest of the Krishna book from, finding it online. And that's happened all over the world. That people, they get the book and they don't know where it came from even. They just meet somebody very quickly in the night or in a busy time, but they somehow get the book, and then they just enjoy it. Their life changes. People have become vegetarian and all kinds of things. So anyway, we should keep that in mind and be positive and understand things like I think you know about the iceberg, that these big, huge mountains of ice that are floating in the ocean. So on top, it's not so big, but it's quite big, but that's only 10% of it. The rest of it is underwater. And there's analogies made like our attitude towards our work or towards our relationships. 10% is our our behavior, our activities, or different things. That's what shows like the top of the iceberg. But 90% is our attitude. This is what people are looking for. If you're working, if you're trying to serve Krishna and do some work for Krishna, what Krishna is looking for is an attitude of service and love and selfless. Because like here we read, the fruits are limited and temporary of material endeavors. The happiness and distress, it's limited and it's temporary. You can't possibly keep it. Just like if you fill your hand, with water, holding your hands like this, you can't keep it for very long. Just carry it around. You have to, it's going to leak out. If you have a bad attitude, you're critical, you're envious, complaining, then the value you get from your endeavors will leak out, just like these clay pots. I don't know if you spent much time in India or something, but you put water in a clay pot and it'll stay cool because of a little bit evaporating through the clay. But sometimes there's a crack, but you can't see the crack. It's tiny. So you fill up your pot in the morning, but when you come back in the evening, it's empty. And there's just water on the floor or, on the table or whatever, because it leaked out very slowly, so you don't detect it, you won't find it practically quickly. Like a big leak, you'll see right away, but a small one, that small, you won't notice it right off, but then after some time, everything's gone. So it's like that. If we have a critical attitude, envious attitude towards, whoever we're working with, sometimes even towards Krishna, then we don't get the mercy that's available. Krishna is giving like everybody the same mercy, just like the sun is shining, for everyone, but not everyone takes advantage of it. Not everyone goes out in the sun. Some people stay in the cave. They stay home with their curtains pulled and, everything's shut down so that no sunlight comes in their house, and watch television or they sleep, intoxicate. So they don't get the advantage of the sunlight, which is very important for everything. So if we don't take up Krishna's mercy, we don't take up the humble attitude to chant all the time and serve the spiritual master, then the mercy, we won't get the mercy even though the mercy is there. So, but the spiritual world is not defined in the, by the Mayavadis, and they just say nothing or oneness, and they can't really, nothing is nothing, but they'll describe nothing in many, many words. At the same time saying words are useless. Words have no meaning, but then they write many books to tell you, So, like there was one guy became very famous in the 70s. I guess I can say his name was Krishnamurti. And he wrote books. I don't believe in anything, things like that. I never really heard of him till after I was a devotee. And I was going door to door once in Los Angeles, and one boy, he said, well, I follow Krishnamurti. And I said, well, he gives this theory that you don't need a guru, you're your own guru. But then why is he teaching all the time and giving lectures and writing books to tell you, you should listen to me if you don't need to listen to anyone? And then I went on my way, and not too long later, but this boy came running after me. And he said, I want that book because I never thought of that before. So, this is the logical, simple things that Srila Prabhupada mercifully gave us so we can see things more clearly. Because we know about Krishna, and we know that there's a spiritual world where there's a different level of pleasure. There's happiness that's not sukhi-dukhi. It doesn't depend on, the happiness doesn't depend on cessation of some unhappiness. So I was mentioning dualities. So Krishna mentions so many dualities. You should be equal in victory and defeat, and happiness and distress, and honor and dishonor, fame and infamy. It's not easy. Sometimes, it's a little easy to tolerate unhappiness. It's, that seems like a little easy. We can tolerate the extreme weather, we can tolerate sickness, but to tolerate material pleasure, it's more difficult. We don't want to give it up. We want to try to enjoy it, to hang on to it, but it's impossible. So we're just wasting time, Like people are they're working so hard to try to enjoy, We see them all over the place, so many endeavors, dressing up their bodies, exercising. We have to take care of the body, we have to cover it as human beings, but we don't have to have 100 different shoes and neckties and get a new haircut every week and all that, like people are doing. They're just thinking about all that stuff and not thinking about, connecting with Krishna, because they don't know. Nobody ever told them that there's so much advertising for sense gratification, gross, but nothing for spiritual life. So this is a special mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam, special mercy of our parampara, the Vaishnava. We can engage the senses, Rishikesh, the master of the senses. So when we work for Krishna's pleasure, then we feel great pleasure also. We decorate the deity, very opulently. We feed the deity very opulently. And then we get also enjoy. If we cook very nicely for the deity, for Krishna, we also eat very nicely because we get his remnants. But it's not only for the good taste and the nice pleasures, but it's free from karma when it's offered to Krishna, when it's prepared with love for Krishna. Then when Krishna accepts it, then it becomes Krishnized, and what's been offered to Krishna is non-different than Krishna. So, and everyone's experienced that prasadam is different than ordinary food. We've all eaten ordinary food before, but when we taste prasadam, there's something special. That's Krishna. I've said before, but I remember when I first was in Los Angeles and Sunday feast, a lot of people would come and they would ask for recipes, because at that time, vegetarian was a very new concept in America, and people didn't have experience of really good tasting food. The meat is where they put all the spices, and the meat has its own strong taste and everything. So they would ask for recipes, and then people would come back the next week and say, well, I cooked it, I followed your recipe, but it didn't taste the same. What do you people do with it? How do you make it? How do you make it so nice? And then we'd say we offer to Krishna, and that's a special ingredient. And sometimes people would start offering to Krishna. They want to know, how can I do that? So just to get the special flavor of the food. And the non-devotee kind of people, the inimical people against us, they would tell people, don't eat their food, don't eat their food. They put something in it, because they saw that when people ate the Krishna food, they would start chanting, or they would start becoming Krishna devotees. So they'd start going more often to the temple, so that they would say, don't eat their food, they put something in it, look out for them. But it wasn't a physical thing, it wasn't some addictive drug or something. It's just you put Krishna in, and then people get relief from trying to enjoy the tongue and all these things. So I've gone on, and now if anybody has any questions, you're welcome to. I don't know who's listening on quite a few now on online. Is Anandamurti, you there?
Hare Krishna.
How long have you been there?
Just now I joined.
Oh, all right. So we didn't have a translator, but I just talked anyway.
Yeah, that's why I tried to log in, but somehow computer no good, and also.
But Avinash is there, but is that just Jai Radhe, or is he actually there?
Here is Ananta Gauranga Prabhu and Mohini Murti Mataji and Yamuna Mataji.
Yeah, I see Ananta Gaurangas, but maybe it's Jai Radhe, or maybe he's not present, he's driving to work. Yeah, he might be driving to work, or who knows, I know he leaves early. All right, so a few people that knew English might have heard it. These things happen. Yesterday the internet wouldn't work, and today the translator wasn't present. Ganga is not feeling well. So, all right, so I think we'll stop, but we're very fortunate. We have the Saiko no Yorokobi.
はい、ちょっと今日これで終わりたいと思いますけども、私たちはこんなことに最高の喜びがあります。
That's the definition of the word Krishna.
世界の定義であり、クリシュナです。
And the word Krishna is same as Krishna.
クリシュナっていう言葉はクリシュナご自身と同じです。
So you know our Krishna book has that big Krishna on the cover, very big.
そのクリシュナブックのカバーにはクリシュナが大きく描かれています。
And in those times of the massive distribution, we had beautiful pamphlets that would have Krishna very big on the top.
なので、たくさん印刷されるクリシュナの本やポスターにはクリシュナの大きな絵がトップに飾られます。
And so, you know, all over the area where because many devotees were distributing many books, people were saying Krishna, Krishna, like that, you know.
で、世界中ではたくさんのディボティがクリシュナの本を配っており、その時間中クリシュナ、クリシュナと言っています。
And people would ask, what is Krishna?
で、人々はそのディボティたちに尋ねます。クリシュナとは何ですか？
We would say, Saiko no yorokobi desu.
で、その時に私たちは最高の喜びですと言います。
And we were in the Nomiya quite often, or the Yoshotengai, where people are trying especially hard to enjoy separate
で、
things.
私たちはよく飲み屋に行って、そのようなプリーチングをしました。
And that sounds, we didn't say Krishna is God and all that. We just said this Krishna means the highest pleasure. This book will give you the highest pleasure.
そういう時には私たちはクリシュナは神ですといったようなプリーチングはしません。私たちクリシュナは最高の喜びです。喜びを与えてくれますと言います。
And I remember one time one of the hostess girls or somebody that was, you know, an employee in that area, she came up behind me and she said,
ある時ホステスの女性が私の後ろからついてきました。
Sex is the highest pleasure.
性的な欲望を
So they
持
are,
ってます。
you know, they're in great illusion. But this is
その人たちはとても幻惑されています。
because these so-called pleasures of the mature world, as distress goes along with them.
なぜならばそういった物質的な快楽の後ろには常に苦悩が伴っているからです。
You know, when you try to enjoy, there'll also be some kind of pain.
そして、その楽しもうとする喜びには痛みが伴います。
And, you know, like in our body, there's much more nerves or whatever. They have, you know, maps and medical that for suffering, for pain than there are for pleasure in the body.
で、この体は痛みを伴うようにできています。
So, you know, but in the spiritual world, there's not the downside.
でもスピリチュアルな世界ではダウンサイド
Yeah, there's not like pain goes automatically along with it.
例えば自動的に苦痛をや痛みを感じることというのは決してありません。
I went one time to was in the airport. Tamal Krishna Maharaj stopped, and he had been in Korea.
タマール・クリシュナ・マハラージと空港にいて、彼はコリア、韓国に行った後でした。
And he had upset stomach because he had this, you know, kimchi, that Korean pickle too much. And the people did.
タマール・クリシュナ・マハラージはお腹が痛いと言い出しました。なぜならそのコリアンの人がキムチを彼に与えた。
I see people selling that around Japan all the time.
で、彼らが日本でもキムチをたくさん売ってるのを何回も見たことがあり
You
ま
know,
す。
tsukemono is very, very hot, so if you eat very much, then, you know, very difficult.
すごい辛い刺激物です。
So I went to the Kusaria and asked for some, I said, you know, something, stomach
私
upset.
は お腹がヘモラジが痛いというので、薬屋にその薬を探しに来ました。
So the clerk there said, "No mi sugimashita."
飲みすぎますと薬屋さんが聞きました。
Because that's a normal thing in the morning.
まあそれが普通だからです。朝そうやってお腹が痛いのはそういうふうなのが普通だからです。
If you don't drink enough, you may not get the pleasure you're looking for, and if you drink too much, the next day you suffer.
その時に食べた時には
worth the trouble.
喜びかもしれませんが、何でもtoo muchに食べ過ぎたり飲み過ぎたりすると次の日苦しみます。
So I said, "No, tabi sugimashita." Oh, he said, "Oh," and then he gave me something.
で彼は私たちが食べ過ぎましたと言うと、なるほどということで何か薬をくれました。
So everybody knows, but they keep thinking, "I'll do it the next time. I'll do it right. I won't have the bad reaction."
で、みんなも思います。苦しんだ時にはもう次はこんな習慣はやめよう。次はそんな食べ過ぎないようにしよう。
You know, we have birth control, so we don't have to worry about pregnancy, or we have some kind of protection, so we don't have to worry about AIDS or, whatever. But people still, you cannot prevent.
その、バースコントロールをしないといけないし、そうやって、守られないといけないのにもかかわらず、コントロールせずにたくさんの子供が生まれます。
Since the 50s, I think, they start to promote this birth control and, abortion and everything because they say there's too big a population.
15歳とか16歳になると、例えば中絶とか、バースコントロールを習ってで学習してそれで、人口が増えすぎるからだとかそんなことになります。
The population of the earth is increasing and increasing and increasing like anything.
ですが、この地球上の人口が増え続けています。
So it's not working, all this control.
なので、そのバースコントロールは
All right, so I don't know, anybody have any comments or questions? It's there.
はい、またコメントやクエスチョンがある方はいらっしゃいますか？
Because Ananda is one of the best translators we have. Not liberty. So we have to pray she can get a little bit different schedule. But this is Japan, that's when you have to take your children to school so early, right?
Yeah, actually, every morning I have to prepare for my daughter, and today she got sick and fever, so I have to stop my work. Today I have holiday, that's why I could translate. Otherwise,
Oh, really?
I am running. Yeah, in this time
So,
all day.
yeah, and then we can't, if we make the class earlier, it doesn't work, and later everybody's at work, and sometimes in the night it might be better, but many have to work till they don't get home till 9 or 10 o'clock either. So, such a place, All right. So, anybody out there want to say something, or I have other things now?
はい、もし他に何か言いたいことがある人がいなければ終わりたいと思います。
So, thank you very much. I don't know when my Tapasini was supposed to come at.
今日はタパスリニさんが来る予定だったでしょうか。
So, I don't know when my next turn is, but we'll try again. Usually we manage to get a translator. Today we got perfect internet anyway.
いつもネットが昼間はちゃんと通じるみたいなんですけど。
Okay. どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you, Maharaj.
Atsama subeta na kenshin shaniya kore. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bo. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nihon Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Book distribution ki jai. Nihon Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bo.
Hari Bo. His Holiness Kavichanda Maharaj ki
Okay, thank you. I think most of the people here speak English, so it's not a problem.